Welcome to this morning's Monday morning message. I am so glad you are here this morning. All right, so let's get into it. Does your anti-racist and equitable education work have boundaries? Last week, as I watched the Israeli-Palestinian conflict unfold, I began to ask myself this. Does my anti-racist and equitable education work have boundaries? I found myself in a situation in which I knew very little about a topic, but knew that even the little I was hearing was leaving me uneasy. So this morning, I'm going to share with you my process thus far of checking my boundaries and be transparent about my limitations. So first I had to recognize and acknowledge my ignorance on the Israeli-Palestinian situation. I knew that I had limited knowledge of the topic, but I also had to admit to myself that I hadn't sought out any information either. Second, I had to acknowledge that my current limited lens was solely rooted in the perspective of American media. As an individual that was born and bred in the United States of America, I have been hearing about issues in the Middle East for a long time. It was just always something they were dealing with over there. I never learned about Palestine and Israel in history class or any other class in my educational experience, with the exception of Bible class, but that was from a different perspective. It wasn't a topic talked about in my home or anywhere else for that matter. It is a blip that is mentioned on the news from time to time, and that's about it. Third, I had to challenge the concept that this has nothing to do with me. There's a war going on, but what can I do about it? Especially when I knew nothing about it. I knew that if I wanted people to care about the issues that I care about, then I needed to open up my world to care about issues that don't directly affect me too. So next, I began to read. I began to read multiple articles from multiple viewpoints so that I could begin to process the situation and honestly figure out where do I stand. I asked others to help me if they knew more information or places where I could find information. Please note that I didn't just try to find an Israeli or Palestinian and say, tell me everything about this. I did my own reading and then reached out to my community, my network, to see what they knew or where I could find more information. Fifth, I began sharing with others within my network what I had learned. I shared information with my high schoolers. I told them that I don't know everything, but here's what I've learned so far. I connected it with the learning we had done regarding World War I and World War II. I even began sharing information with my friends. And finally, I began to see that this genocide, these war crimes that are being committed against Palestinian people, they're not defendable. At some point, we will have to realize in this world that the mighty crush weak method is unacceptable. At some point, we will have to realize that if we don't advocate and elevate the voices of the weak, there will be no other result than continued oppression. So, my challenge to you today is check the boundaries of your equity work. Where are you limited? We all have boundaries. The question is, are you willing to expand your scope to truly work to see justice for all? Let's do the work, people. Have a great Monday. Have a wonderful week.